today, our topic is still on inheritance, and I have here some example programs before we will proceed on the multi-level inheritance. So in this example, we have the following requirements. We'll create a Java program applying inheritance that accepts input from the user for the name and breed, instantiates and create object of class dog only, and access all the methods defined and inherited by class dog. So kumbaga, ang twist lang dito is mag-a-accept ng input from the user. So we will just modify yung program na create natin sa naunang lecture natin on inheritance. So ilalagay ko na lang sa description box yung discussion with regards to this. So balikan natin yung codes or program natin doon. So ito yon yung ating program. So the program will accept an input from the user. So we have it on the part of the Java application class. So magkakaroon ng revisions dito sa ating coding. So in the Java application class, we will use a class for our input statements. So most probably we'll use the buffered reader here. So import java.io.asterisk. And then we'll just modify this. Dagdagan natin ng throws IO exception, and then the declaration of the buffered reader. So ang gagawin is the program should accept for the value of name, breed, and color. So mag-declare tayo ng variable string name, breed, and color. And next, let's have the different input statements. Then we'll have the name, then the breed, and color. So, ito yung mga input statements natin, name, breed, and color. We use the br.readline as our input statements since our types of our inputs are string. So, ang next na gagawin natin ay ipapasa natin yung mga inputs natin doon sa ating constructor. So, in this example, we create an instance of our subclass. So, dito natin siya ilalagay, name, breed, and color. Then, next, balikan natin yung ating superclass and subclass. Since yung ating constructor dito has already 3 string values, therefore, in the constructor of our subclass should also have 3 string values, and it is arranged according to name, breed, and color. So, dapat 3 rin yung nandito sa ating constructor. Yung constructor na natin, from default, magiging parameterized. So, in order to do that, so same na rin yung gagamitin nating variables, string name, string breed, and string color. So, ang mangyayari dito, name, breed, and color, kung ano man yung magiging inputs ng user, ang magre-receive is this line 15, our parameterized constructor. May store na rin kay name, breed, and color. Inside our parameterized constructor, since ang value ay manggagaling sa user, alisin na rin natin itong mga na-initialize na values dito. Ang ilalagay na natin ay yung variables kung saan na ipasa yung mga inputs. So, in super, in this line, it refers to the constructor of the superclass. And your superclass, ang meron lang sa kanya ay 2 parameters. We have the name and the breed. Kaya, ang ipapasa lang natin dito is the name and breed coming from these parameters. So, name and breed. Okay. How about for the color? Hindi natin pwedeng i-include dito si color kasi nga, when we say this part, we are referring to the constructor of the superclass. Wherein, dalawa lang. Hindi natin pwedeng i-include yung color. Ang gagawin natin, since color has been initialized or has been declared inside this class, ilalagay natin siya after nung ating super keyword. This.color is equal to the color. So this.color that we're referring here is our instance variable, and the color here refers to the parameter inside the constructor. So, kung i-run natin yung ating program, the name of a dog is Brownie, the breed is Aspin, and the color is brown. So, nag-display kung ano man yung in-input ng user. We have here another example wherein the superclass has attributes first name, last name, and age, and a method printInfo. For the class student, that is the subclass, it has attributes ID and school, and a method printDetails. So we'll create a Java program applying inheritance. Parang same lang din dun sa naunang example, iba nga lang yung magiging output. And at the same time, iba rin yung class. So, kung ipoprogram natin ito, so we'll create new file, store in one project, we'll name Pearson, and let's create public class Pearson. Then, we have the instance variables first name, last name, and age. So, we'll make it encapsulated private string first name, last name. Separate for the age, which is declared as integer. Then we'll declare for a parameterized constructor. We'll declare it as public person. Same name with the class. And we'll just pass the first name, last name, and age. Then we'll declare or we'll initialize this first name, our instance variable, to the variable declared in the constructor, first name. We have the method printInfo. We will use the access modifier protected so that the subclass can access for it. And next, the return type. If we want to just display the output here and we will not return any value, then we'll use void. Then the name printInfo. So system.out.println. We want our output that the name should be, the first name and the last name should joined together. So most probably we'll just place it name, and then we'll append first name, the plus, and then we'll put space plus last name. In case we want to use string methods and we want to display the output in uppercase, okay, we may use also two uppercase. So this is just optional. That will vary or that will depend on the requirement. So that two uppercase, meaning whatever is the input of the user, it will be displayed into its uppercase. And then let's display for the age, system.out.println, and then we'll append the age. So this is our superclass. So let's proceed to our subclass. So subclass, class student will inherit to class person. We use the keyword extends person. We'll declare for the specific attributes of the student. We have ID and school. So let's encapsulate it again. Private int ID and private string school. Let's declare for the constructor of the subclass. So the name is student. And then, since ipapasa rin natin yung manggagaling doon sa ating superclass, kaya kukunin natin yung first name, last name, and age. So, string first name, string last name, int age, then i-join na natin yung ID at school. Int ID string school. Then, we'll use the super keyword, and it is declared inside the constructor. So when we say super here, we are referring to the constructor of the superclass wherein it has 3 parameters. So ipasa rin natin dito yung tatlo na dineclare natin dito na same variable name rin. First name, last name, and age. So as mentioned earlier, hindi natin pwedeng isama yung ID at school dito kasi ang tinutukoy lang naman nito is yung constructor ng ating superclass. So in order for us na magkaroon ng value yung ID at school, so we'll just initialize. This .id, we're referring to the instance variable, and the ID is yung ating parameter sa constructor. Then this .school is equal to school. Next, let's have the method. So print details, ang gagawin niya, ipiprint niya yung ID and school. So in order to do that, again, we'll use the protected access modifier and then void, and the name is print details. If we want to access the print info, so pwedeng gamitin na rin natin dito yung super.printinfo. Ang gagawin na lang later on ng ating Java application class, ito na lang yung i-access niya. Siya na rin ang bahalang mag-access din doon sa print info. And then, we'll print for ID and school. So, system.out.print line ID plus ID. Okay, so try natin gamitin yung \n dito. So in order to do that, to create new line, \n, and then we'll just include here school plus the school. Practice lang natin kung ano yung gamit ng \n, create new line. So that's it for our superclass and subclass. So the Java application class will be responsible in clearing an instance of the subclass and accessing its methods. So in order to do that, again, we'll create file and same project. We'll have it Pearson demo. Then we'll accept input from the user. So this time, we'll use the scanner class. Import java.util ** class declaration public class person demo, then the main method, then the declaration of the scanner class. Then let's declare for our inputs. So pagsama-samahin na lang natin lahat ng string, fn for first name, ln for last name, then school, and then integer for age and ID. Let's have the different input statements for these 5 inputs. So we are through with our input statements. So now let's declare for an instance to our subclass, which is student. Ito yung ating subclass. So student, we'll just name it stud is equal to new student. Okay. Dito na natin ipapasa yung ating mga inputs. But before that, tignan muna natin kung ano yung arrangement dito. So, mauna yung first name, last name, age, ID, and school. So, dito ang first name natin is fn. fn followed by ln followed by age, ID, and school. Dapat mag-match yung arrangement niya na string, string, int, int, string. So, magbabari sa arrangement niya dito sa ating constructor. Next, let's access the method. So, ang access na lang natin ay yung print details. So, we'll use our object or reference stud.printDetails. So, ang mangyayari dyan, ipapasa yung mga mai-input na values, ipapasa dito, and then, responsible na rin sa pagpapasa dun sa ating superclass, okay, yung ating constructor dito. Ipe-perform na rin yung methods. So, print details, kaya yung print details, super.printinfo, so ito, i-call niya muna. And then, saka i-display yung ID and school. So, if we will build and run this file, so let's have example, De La Cruz. Then, 1, age 21, student ID 12345, and school DIMSU. Okay? So, nag-display yung output niya. So, kung papansinin ninyo, nag-join yung name na Juan de la Cruz, and it is converted also into its uppercase. And then age, and the ID, and nag-create ng new line for school, which is DIMSU. Let's proceed to multi-level inheritance. So when we say multi-level inheritance, a superclass is inherited by a subclass, and the subclass is inherited by another subclass. So we have here the following representation to its diagram. Each class has at least one default constructor, and all of them are executed whenever an instance of the lowest subclass is declared. You can have any numbers of levels of inheritance in your program as long as each class passes the SA test. However, programmers try to avoid using more than 3 levels because each level adds a degree of complexity to the program and makes it a little more difficult to maintain and update. We have here an example of multi-level inheritance hierarchy. It is from more general to more specific. So we have an example of multi-level inheritance. So here we have the class graduate student extends student, class student extends person, and class person as its superclass. So for the class person, it has attributes name initialized inside the constructor and displayed in the method displayName. For class student, it has a specific attribute student ID initialized inside the default constructor, and it was displayed inside the display student ID method. For class graduate student, ang gagawin lang niya is nag-declare siya ng method display ang nag-access ng mga methods na na-declare sa class person and class student. So, kung titignan natin sa ating class demo, ang na-declare na instance is from the subclass na graduate student. At ang in-access lang na method is the method display, which holds the display name and the display student ID. And yan yung kanyang output. So we have here another example. So i-modify lang natin yung program natin kanina. So magdadagdag lang tayo ng graduate student doon sa ating subclasses. So ang idadagdag natin ay course, and it will display for the course. So, ilagay natin siya after ng class declaration ng ating first subclass. So, class graduate student extends. So, ang ating i-extends ay yung student. Declare for its specific attribute course. Private string course. And now let's declare for the constructor. So constructor is same name with the class, kaya graduate student din. And then katulad rin nung ginawa natin dito sa ating class student. So ang gawin na lang natin, kopyahin na lang natin ito. Then ilagay natin dito at idagdag natin yung course. Later on, ito yung i-instantiate ng ating Java application class. Ang super na nailalagay natin dito is yung class student. It has 5 parameters. So these are first name, last name, age, ID, and school. And then yung course, so gamitan natin ng this reference, lalo at same sila ng variable. This.course equals. And then display course, kung saan i-display yung course protected void display course. If we want na ito na lang i-access ng ating Java application class, so pwedeng kunin na lang ulit natin yung print info and print details. So, super.printinfo and yung isa na super.printDetails. Then, saka yung sa course. So, for the course, system.out.println, then, so, yung sa ating Java app, so, dagdagan natin yung ating variable dito, course, then, same is true dyan, course, then, ang ating i-access na ay yung graduate student. So, dagdagan na lang natin ito ng graduate student. Maganda kung palitan na rin natin ito ng grad. So, equal to new graduate student. And then, tingnan natin yung constructor natin doon. Dapat 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, magdagdag tayo dito ng course. And then, ang i-access na lang is the grad.display course. So, kung i-run natin yung ating file, okay, last name, De La Cruz, 1, 21, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Dimsu, PSCS. So, let's try to take a look. Okay, nadoble yung ating name at age. Okay, so saan kaya yung error natin para hindi ito madoble? Okay, so balikan natin. 2 beses na call si print info. So, alisin natin ito. So, try ulit natin na i-run. De La Cruz, 1, 21, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, School Dimsu, Course MSCS. So, yon. Name, age, ID, school, and course. So, this will vary on the requirement. If we want na alisin tong print details, okay, sa ating mga methods na create, ayos lang din, basta as long as i-call siya ni grad. Okay, so kung inalis natin yon, call din natin grad.printinfo and grad.printDetails. So, kahit na hindi natin ilagay yung super keyword dito na i-access yung method na create natin, as long as i-access ng Java application class, magra-run pa rin because it has the keyword extends. Mahanap at mahahanap pa rin yung methods na in-access nung ating object. So, kung i-run natin ito, ganun rin. De La Cruz, 1, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, Dimsu, MSCS. Okay? So, that is how multi-level inheritance works. So, this is just a basic program or a simple program in multi-level inheritance. It's a matter of displaying information only. And lastly, we have the final classes. So, final classes cannot be extended. If you don't want other classes to inherit from a class, use the final keyword. If you try to access a final class, Java will generate an error. So, there are 3 uses of final keyword. It can be used to create the equivalent of a named constant. It can be used to prevent overriding of methods. And it can be used to prevent a class from being inherited. So, in declaring for final classes, we have the following: the access modifier, followed by the final keyword, the class keyword, and the class name. It prevents the class person from being inherited. Another, how to declare final method from being overridden. So, kumbaga, hindi na mauulit yung pag-declare ng method name na yon. So, the format is the final keyword, followed by the return type, and the method name. So, it prevents the method warning message from being overridden. And that ends my video lecture on inheritance. Next lesson is polymorphism, which includes a compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism in Java.